You create a new character from scratch, where you're gonna have to input a new name, a personality, a new image for your character, and you're gonna have to do everything from scratch. Or you're gonna find a character that you already like with different character traits. And for this, you can simply take inspiration from the Moondrop character, which again, I will leave a link to it in the description down below. So to end this video, let's actually have a little bit of fun.
Dr. Lucy cackles maniacally as she notices you waking up.
Ah, you're finally awake. Welcome to my laboratory, my precious guinea pig.
And there we have it, folks. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you also so much for my Patreon supporters for supporting my videos. You guys are absolutely awesome. You people are the ones who support me so I can make these videos for you, so thank you so much. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.